Wake up, wake up, wake up. If you're watching this by rebroadcast, I'm Ed Montgomery. They call me Dr. Ed. Make sure you know the drill. Share it with somebody that you care about. Share it with somebody you care. Share with someone you care for. And then comments, whatever you want to say, if you get a truth that it hits you and you say, boy, I like that, let me know it. Wherever you're from, that's what a good comment is. If you're from out of the country, let me know. If you're from out of the state of Texas, let me know. If you're in Ohio, Florida, New York, California, let me know. If you're in another city other than Houston, let me know. See, those are comments. And of course, your likes. That makes a huge difference. Have you ever been, I'm getting right into this, overwhelmed? I'm not talking about distracted. I'm not talking about a little conflict. I'm not talking about, I've had a few challenges in my life. I'm talking about overwhelmed. I'm talking about to the extent that you feel like shutting down. I don't want to see nobody, hear nobody. Don't want to hear them, don't want to see them, don't want to talk to them. I just don't feel like coping the day, crawl back in that bed. Well, you don't have to be overwhelmed, feel like crawling back in that bed with this weather right there. But I'm talking about just literally overwhelmed. This today is what you need to see. I'm going to not just teach you something. I'm going to walk with you through something. I'm going to walk with you through aspects of your spiritual life that I believe will open some doors, and we're going to just get, before we get right into it, don't forget, When Heaven is Silent, it's on ebook now. You can go into Kindle on Amazon.com and you can download it. It won't take but a few moments because it's very easy. I've tried it myself, and you can go through the book, find the places you want to find and the subjects you're interested in, and you can click it and go right to that paragraph anywhere in that book. And it's a wealth of, I'm not just going to say knowledge or information, but it's a wealth of insight. And it'll help you in your faith. It'll help you in your understanding of patience, how to just get through things. It's part of dealing with being overwhelmed. When prayers are not answered, keeps your faith from faltering, all those kind of good things. Go on Amazon and get it. Let's get into it right now. Okay. I'm going to take you to a passage, and it's an ancient text. And it's out of what people call it's the Jewish Bible, or what people call the Old Testament. And it's from 2 Kings, chapter 6, verse 15 and 16. And you can zero right in on it. Because let me give you the background the background of this thing, because sometimes you have to understand the culture of the way people lived if you're going to understand how things work. First of all, there were no cars, so they couldn't just get in and drive away. Their main source of transportation was horses and chariots. So when you read, and they got in their horse and they got in their chariots. So we realized that when we would get in our car and drive across Houston, it would take a while to get in a chariot and drive across Houston. So we know everything was not that far away unless there was a reason for them to go that far away. And the story goes that these two towns were at war. They deal with countries. I think it was Israel and Syria, whatever. Syria. They were at war, and they were coming at each other and going hard at each other. Well, what happened was that every time what they call the enemy army would hear or make plans, then the army of Israel would find out about those plans. They would send their people, their soldiers, and get there before the enemy army got there and just defeat the enemy army. Well, after about 2 or 3 times, this is what the actual text says. After about 2 or 3 times of it, the king of the enemy army says, and I shouldn't say the enemy, they were enemy to Israel. The king of the army said, listen, somebody is a traitor in here. Somebody's talking. Somebody's not standing up for truth. Somebody's not on our side. Who is it? Because they were getting ready to take them out. And then finally one of them said, listen, nobody in here is a traitor. There is a prophet that is in Israel, and he sees, he knows everything that is going on. Now, you have to understand, in that culture back in those days, a prophet was not just somebody who prophesied or said the future, or who could tell you, well, you live in this house down the street, or you're going to have an accident and break your left, your baby toe or something like that. That was not what they considered to be a prophet. A prophet was a seer. A prophet was somebody who literally stood between earth and heaven and could experience those two worlds and could bring down what they saw in this spiritual world into the natural world. It was not like God was speaking into their ear and telling them, well, this person is going to wear one red sock and one black sock. And no, they somehow could sense shifts and tides in the mood or the currents of life itself. And this prophet by the name of Elisha, not Elijah, Elijah was his mentor. Elisha, or Elisha, we call him Elisha, was his name. And what was happening is he was connected with Israel. And every time he would sense or see that the enemy army was about to do whatever move they were going to make, he would tell Israel. Well, that army finally got tired of him. They said, well, who is it? It's Elijah. They said, go find him, go get him, get in the chariot, get in your horse. You're not going to go all the way across town, but just get however far, just down to the town, down the street, go get him and get a hold of him, bring him to me. So they sent an entire army to this seer. This is what spirituality is. Spirituality is the ability to see in and into another world, the ability to not just see, but the ability to become. It is awareness of, I shouldn't say a dimension, but an awareness of another way of doing things. Now, let me explain a little bit further. Let's say you were going to get a job and you got to that job and they told you, well, we're sorry, that position is no longer available to you, and or it's already over and somebody's already got the position. But you really felt like that was a job for you. That was a good job for you, but they told you no. Here is how you would use your spirituality. Here's how you would come up with it. You would turn around and you could speak. Many people would speak and say, Lord, now Lord. That's a connection to that spiritual, to that power that's beyond the universe, that's connecting beyond our natural world. Just saying Lord means that you're connecting with something else. And you can sense that maybe that particular job, you say, I just knew that was mine. Well, in the natural, what people would call in the natural, you would say, Oh boy, my faith is getting ready to, I don't know what's wrong. I lost my faith and I don't believe in God anymore and I'll never go to church and I'll never pray because my prayers were not answered. I just knew that was my job and down, and you go. And now you're in a tizzy and you're going down a spiral, which is the worst thing to do because now you're going down this negative tube, which is actually taking the very thing you need away from you. You catching it? So what you have to do is almost arrest yourself and just say, stop. As you're going down the tube, you're saying, I prayed and you're calling everybody. Told everybody to pray for you and they all prayed for you. And you say, none of this stuff works. I'm just going to throw up my hand. I'm through it all. You're going down a negative hole. You're going down a negative tube. And if you don't stop, you're going to go so far down, you're not going to be able to climb back up. So the goal is to learn to stop yourself before you go down that hole and drive yourself crazy mentally, emotionally, which ultimately affects you spiritually. When you fall in love with somebody that don't love you, and you say, I prayed about that, and I just know that God sent you to me. Well, that's first of all not the right attitude because you can't pray for God to send you that person because that person has their own will. You can't make somebody love you. I know that's what the Temptation said, that I'm going to make you love me. Yes, I will. No, you can't make anybody love you. The only thing you can do is give your love or share who you are. And if the person doesn't want to respond or cannot give, the goal is not for you to tell them how much you care for them and how much you love them and how much you want to be somebody special for them in order to make them return something to you that you want. No, it's manipulation. Look, what that is you have to learn to stop and say, no, I'm telling this person how I feel. And I'm not going down that rabbit hole because if I keep going, they should love me back. And I've done, the next thing you do, you're going to be sitting in your car looking across the street at their house. I wonder who they with. And the police gonna show up and say, why are you looking at that house over there? Somebody called on you and now you become a stalker and you're wondering, I'm not a stalker. I'm not a stalker. Yes, you are. You've become a stalker because you didn't catch yourself going down the rabbit hole. This is what's happening in our country right now. People are going down rabbit holes of belief and they're not stopping themselves. Even their spiritual mentors have gone down the rabbit hole. In the scripture, very plain. Can the blind lead the blind? No. You can't do that. You have to learn to stop yourself. This is what spirituality, awareness enables you to open yourself up as you've read your scriptures and you've studied it. It opens yourself up to the understanding that you don't get love unless you give love. You can't make folk love you. You got to love folk even regardless. You have to realize that you have to learn to tell yourself, stop going down that rabbit hole. This is what that spirituality is. Spirituality is not what I believe. It is what I know. Here's the story. When that enemy army went after Elisha, Elisha was in his house minding his own business, and the young servant that was working for him, his assistant that was working for him, got up that morning, and the servant looked out the door and said, "Sir, do you realize there's an army out here surrounding you?" And Elisha said, "Give me another cup of coffee." And the servant said, sir, give me another cup of coffee. So, all right, poured him another cup of coffee. Got a little cream, maybe a little bit of sugar. And he sat there and read his scrolls. I don't think they had a newspaper, but he read his scrolls. He probably did a little meditation. And the assistant said, sir, do you realize there's an army up against you? You got bills on the table. There's an enemy army. They're talking about shutting down your job. There's an enemy army. I don't think the Republicans going to want to do what the Democrats are trying to talk to them about. There's an enemy army about to shut down. You got division in your country. There's an enemy army that's there. DoorDash didn't make it on time. There's an enemy army. What you realize is that as that prophet, that seer, that person of awareness was looking, he saw the problem that was around. But he did not go down the rabbit hole believing that my life is about to be over because of the problem that is in front of me. This is where we begin that first part of being overwhelmed, because we believe that the problem that surrounds us is the problem that is about to overtake us. And when it overtakes us, we're done for. You can't take it. God knows how much you can take. You'd be surprised how much you can take. You just have to learn not take it all at one time. You got to take it a little bit at a time. What do they say? How to eat an elephant? A bite at a time. A little bit at a time. This is why you take your time to know things. This is why somebody would say, what's the answer to financial debt? What's the answer to being overwhelmed? What's the answer to a better love life? What's the answer to having a good credit report? What's the answer? The answer, someone will say, is to get to know yourself spiritually, who you are. And they'll turn around and say, I don't want to hear from all that. I don't want to hear all that. Get to know who I am spiritually and get to know. That don't help me. That don't get me out of my problem today. That doesn't make me feel better about myself today. I need some answers. I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to get my phone and I'm going to scroll through the internet and see if I can find me a word. Click, 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 click. I'm going to find me a word. I'm going to find me a word. And so you start looking for what people, and then you say, Google will find me a word. And so you search Google, how to get out of being overwhelmed. And then Google sends you here and there. Next thing you know, you go there. Well, what was that? Did I spell overwhelmed, overweight? What did I do? So you begin to realize they're just telling you things. Okay, you feel a little bit better, but it's not really changing anything inside. Sometimes you just have to go back to working on the inside level. And so I'm going to put that on the shelf. That's one of the things I talk about in When Heaven is Silent, is learning to put things on the shelf until it's time for it. So number one, there was something that the prophet knew. That's why he drank another cup of coffee. So number one is know it. Say it with me. Know it. What did the prophet know? What did the seer know? What did this aware person know? What did this conscious person know? He knew that there was another realm behind the natural. There was a supernatural, that there was another power behind the natural power. There was a supernatural power behind the natural power. And the prophet knew this. This is what is so hard to help people to understand, is that there is a greater power beyond where we are. That even when we stumble and fall, it doesn't always doesn't take us out. We're still here. There's a scripture that says when we fall, underneath are the everlasting arms. That even when we stumble and fall, even when we take a huge fall, there is something that holds us and protects us. There is an energy. There is a consciousness, a power. There is our understanding of a protector, of a shield, a healer that holds us even in the midst of sickness. That's what God is. That's how we define him. When we know this, and the more you learn to practice it, to meditate it, to speak it, to say it, when you know it, and what I mean by know it is, look, I don't care how big this thing's going to get. I know it's not going to stay this way. There is something about to overtake it. And here's what the prophet saw. He said to the assistant, he said, Lord, open his eyes. Let him see something. And the assistant went out and he opened his eyes. I'm not talking about his physical eyes. He opened his spiritual eyes. God opened them. And here's what he saw. Around or encircling the army was another army. Now you have to understand, this army had this, encircling it was invisible. It had chariots. It had soldiers. Actually, they were angels. But they could only explain. See, we wouldn't see chariots surrounding us. We wouldn't see soldiers with swords because that's not the way they fight now. But it was a spiritual thing. It was a supernatural thing surrounding the natural army. So even when I look at bills and I'm saying, how in the world am I going to pay these bills? I look at it and I say, Lord, you know what? There is a way to pay these things. There is a way around this. I believe that there are doors, that finances are going to come. The money that I need is going to come. I believe that that money is already on its way. I believe that the healing that is necessary, I sense it already in my body taking place right now. See, now don't go out there and take your mask off and say, oh, COVID, 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 COVID. I stand against you. See, I'm not afraid of you. Put your mask back on. Put it on. Put it on. Matter of fact, you might have to put another one on. Put your mask back on and then take your vaccine. When you take your vaccine, now you got something to work with. You know what? Faith is a whole lot easier if you listen to your doctors, if you listen to the people who deal with this kind of stuff. You don't have to believe 100%. You only have to believe a little bit, because if the vaccine is 96% effective, you only have to believe 4%. That's a whole lot easier. I'm just saying. These are things that we know. We know. You hear people, I know God will. Even when things don't, I know God will. Even when things don't happen the way I want, I know God will. I know God will open doors. I know God will make a way. I know God will do something. You say, well, why hasn't God done it before? Well, this may be the moment that you're looking for. This may be the moment that you're in line. This may be the moment that you've got your radio tuned to the God frequency. This may be the moment that you've got your knob, your station right on the Miracle Network. And the Miracle Network is about to release something in your life. This is the moment. This is your moment. This is your time. The supernatural is surrounding the natural. And when you can lift your eyes up and see it, you may not see it physically, but in the spirit, you know it. I know it. Number two, I see it. This is what I call a manifestation. This is what I call the revealing of what I know. Now, this is something, when you want to see the manifestation of what you know, you have to do something called wait for it. Wait for it now. Wait for it. Well, where is it? Wait for it. Nobody likes to wait anymore. Nobody. I don't want to wait on anything. I don't even want to wait. I don't even want to go to the restaurant and wait for the food. That's what I was talking about earlier. DoorDash it. Grubhub it. They'll ring my doorbell and bring it to me. Look at the modern America. You have to wait on it. And sometimes things will get a little worse before they get better. Sometimes before things go straight up, sometimes they take a dip down and then go higher than what you even imagine. See, this is one of the things that I've learned. That in your mind, you say, I need things to be up here. I need my rent to be paid here. I need my mortgage to be paid here. I need my business to take off and this much income to come in order to survive. Well, one of the scriptures that teaches us, and that's Matthew chapter 6, it says God knows what you need. When you put, it says, seek the kingdom of heaven. First, seek the kingdom of heaven. Seek the kingdom of God. And when it says seek the kingdom of God first, people say, well, what does that mean? It says begin to be aware that there is another kingdom around everything first. If your business needs X amount of dollars to survive, you realize that not only does it need X amount of dollars, but there are more than X amount of dollars. You begin to see the wealth. You've heard people say, if you shoot for the moon, you land among the stars. Well, actually, the moon's closer than the stars. That's not, if you shoot for the star, you land among the moon. Actually, it should be. But what you begin to realize is that God is unlimited. He's unlimited. Show me what's possible. Show me what you can do. Show me how we can get around this thing. Not, Lord, do this. Lord, do that. And I believe by faith you're going to get this done. You might shoot too low. Lord, show me the ultimate way to get this done. I know it. And now let me see it. And that third one is going to be called how to use it. How to use this manifestation. How to use your awareness and the manifestation and the revealing of that masterpiece in you. How do I use it for my benefit? Look, I'm going to come right back and I'm going to tell you about it. But stay right here. And I'm going to tell you what I'm getting ready to show you. I believe that one of the greatest benefits in receiving is how we give. Once we open up our hands and release it and not just let some things go. And when we let some things go, there are things that will come into our lives. We start a flow. And I believe that there's a flow that is opening up in your life. It's time for you to open up and realize that there is more for you than is against you. Look, I'm going to come back with use it. I'll be right back. Hey, this is Dr. Ed. We've been on this journey for over 40 years. Some have been there with us for almost 40. Some have just started this journey with us. But what we've been able to do is help people to find joy, peace, enlightenment. They have grown tremendously, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and it's all because of your contributions, your help, our journey on this road. Take a moment, make a contribution at myalc.org. That's myalc.org. That's our website. That's our main place where you're even able to watch our show on Sunday mornings. Not only that, but you can also give through our app. And you can download that app from Google Play or you can download it from the App Store by just typing in Abundant Life Center, or you can type in Ed Montgomery and the Abundant Life Center app will pop up and you can download it. It only takes a few moments, and you can have that way. You can carry it with you on your phone and your iPads and all those kind of good things. Not only that, but you can also do text to give. That's very popular because people are able to give if they forget to be on their, website or their app. They can just give right on the spot, real fast, real quick. Sometimes they do text to give even when we're inside of a church service. And you can do that by texting to 713-742-2035. That's 713-742-2035. Or you could give through our P.O. Box. Safe, sound, secure. You can give, you can make sure you put a stamp on the envelope, but you can, write us a little note, drop me a little note, whatever you want to do, and mail it. There are some folk that's just, hey, I'm just going to mail this. And you can mail your contribution, and that's to the Abundant Life Center, P.O. Box 772-300, Houston, Texas, 77215. I'm going to say it again. That's that old radio thing. You got to say it twice. Abundant Life Center, P.O. Box 772-300, Houston, Texas, 77215. Continue on this journey with us. And if you're new for the first time, start this journey with us. I promise you, not only will it change your life, but you'll change the life of so many around you. And that'll make you feel real good inside. Thanks. Welcome back. I was, during that break, I was sitting and thinking about how we've joined with so many people who have just connected with us, even people for the first time, people who over the years have connected with us, but just you lost track, you lost contact and things of that sort. But they're coming back. I'm connecting with people who are reconnecting and say, listen, Dr. Ed, this is my home. I want to be a part of this whole new movement that's taking place. People are asking about, what are you looking at? Churches, it's going to be what I call online and in-house. Online, in-house. They're going to be two things. They're going to be running parallel with each other. And we have to learn how to see both of those worlds. See, just like that spiritual world, that's natural and supernatural. A world that you can see and the world that you don't see. All this is coming together. I mean, it is coming together. I was also listening this week to the impeachment debates. Now, there was a time I would have never listened to them debating all that legalese and all those terms and number one. It would have never, I don't know what happened to me. I just didn't want to listen to it. But I was listening to a lot of it this time, and the reason was, it was just interesting how they were laying out a particular case and why some people did what they did. Listen, in the world that we're living in, you must understand that America is going through changes. Now, that doesn't mean that like I said, sometimes things can get bad before they get better. And America is going through some changes. How do they go back to work the next day? How in the Senate or in the House do they go back and look each other in the eye, realizing, can I trust this person who belongs to another party or thinks differently than I do? I mean, those are a lot of questions, and they got to work in that kind of atmosphere. Let me tell you something. If I was in politics, I sure would be spiritual. And I'm not talking about that crazy spirituality. I'm not talking about, I'm talking about the kind of spirituality where I would be able to know it and see it. I wouldn't have to tell people how spiritual I am, or tell people I'm a Christian, or tell people I'm this way. There's just be that undercurrent, that spiritual undercurrent within me. A quietness, but yet a strong confidence in the ability to be able to see it. Let me tell you what happens. As you begin to study spiritual things, and I encourage you, find you a good spiritual prayer person, find you a good spiritual mentor, someone, and which is what I'm doing right now. But even on a deeper level, find someone that can share some things with you that can that has a little understanding about who you are. That and I'm not saying get so deep into somebody's life that they did with we followed Donald Trump down to that. Forget all that. Forget all that. That's not what's important here. What's important is that we find purpose and we realize that how do I use that spiritual awareness that I have? Well, I'll tell you one thing. When you realize and you see and somebody tells you who they are, believe it. When you look at somebody and they show you right off the bat, I'm not for you. You don't have to be mean to them. You don't have to be mad at them. You don't have to cuss them out. But you file it right back there in your little mindset and realize that this person could turn on me. Because if they'll turn on one person, they'll turn on another one. You don't have to be suspicious about that person. You just now learn not to put your life in that person's hands and trust that they're going to do the right thing. Because some people are not always going to do the right thing. And then secondly, you got to take that and you got to use it. And you got to use it to build. When you become overwhelmed, there's a lot of negative energy. There's a lot of energy that makes you just want to just be done, throw up your hands, just be done with life. But what you have to realize is say, what can I do to use this pain? How do I use this pain? How do I use this sickness? I know that sounds crazy. How do I use the things that are just overwhelming me and making me kind of really feel bad right now? How do I use even a habit that I'm trying to break? How do I use this? And then you begin to realize, what can I do with my life that can make a difference in the lives that are around me? And as you get on that journey, you begin to realize that I can use this pain to get through anything. And you begin to realize, if I got through last week, I can get through today. If I got through last month, I can get through next week. If I got through last year, this past year, you got past 2020. Listen, you can get through a whole lot of things in this 2021. You learn to use it. You learn how to meditate through it and realize there's one thing. And here's what that prophet told that young would-be prophet assistant. He says, they that be with us, are more than with them. In the natural, you see you're surrounded. But whatever your bills total up to, there's more money than you have bills. There's more that be with us than be with them. If you find somebody and you can't seem to find nobody to love you. Remember, there's more that be with you than be with them. In other words, there are people that are looking for you. You look for those that are looking for you. Stop looking for the people that don't want you. Listen, I've learned, and I shouldn't say this. I know I shouldn't say it, but I'm going to say it anyway. I've learned as a spiritual guide. I've learned as being the pastor of a church for decades, for over 40 years. I have learned how to be a shepherd. I have learned how to care for people, even that don't even want to be cared for. I've learned how to love people that even don't love me. But here's what I've learned. I've learned that you cannot go after people that don't want to be with you. My grandmama told me that. I never learned that from the Lord. My grandmother told me, don't be running after all these folk that don't want to be with you. You got to learn how to open yourself up to learn to be with the people that want to be with you. And I think at my age right now, and I promise you, there was a time, I'm just reaching out to everyone. I'm reaching out to everyone. And then, well, right now, I love everyone. Mama Tacy, you don't want to be with me. I can't be with you because I only have so much time in my life. And you start watching how people are leaving out of this world. COVID, physical. And you just knew